Today's video is sponsored by Storyblocks. Storyblocks has an ever-growing library of 1 million high-quality stock assets, including 4K and HD footage, music, images, sound effects, and more. All of these assets are royalty-free, so you can use your downloaded content anywhere for commercial and personal use. With their unlimited all-access plan, you have unlimited downloads of everything in their library, so you can try out multiple options quickly and find the perfect fit so you can create more and spend less without sacrificing quality. With their ongoing restock initiative, they recently released a new round of collections called Queer Spaces and Faces from some really incredible LGBTQI+ creators that will feature the layered experiences of the community. Storyblocks is committed to making the change that stock footage needs. With better representation not only in the stock footage but also in the creators that are being hired, Storyblocks is doing some great work. So if you want to try it out, make sure you head to the link in my description. Thank you again to Storyblocks for sponsoring this video, and now let's get into it. Today's going to be one of those videos where I just share some photos and talk about them a little bit. It feels a bit more like some of my older videos. This setup today, the way I have the camera and light and desk and everything, even that feels a little bit like my older videos. And as I've been shooting for the last, 6 or 7 months on a project, I've been keeping most of the photos to myself. And I haven't shared a ton of new photos here on the channel or on Instagram or anything like that, but I've been kind of coming around that lately. You might have seen a few months ago I shared here on the channel and on Instagram that Molly and I had separated. And after 2 months separated, just sort of going through the motions and figuring things out, we both gained a lot of perspective and a lot of clarity in that, and we have since gotten back together and things have been amazing. That's a whole topic for another day. We've talked about just kind of like sharing our perspectives as a married couple, because I think if we had seen another couple kind of talk about things, going through the same sort of things that we were, that probably would have been helpful. So maybe her and I will sit down here together sometime and talk about that. Maybe we won't, I have no idea. But what I do want to talk about today is specifically some photos I made with my SL2 and the 35mm Summicron, my M-mount Summicron. I made some photos of the family over the weekend. We basically just took a full family day. I didn't plan any work. Molly was off work, and we just wanted to have fun with the kids. They're both on summer break right now, and we've been doing whatever we can to just keep them busy because they're kids and they need 24/7 entertainment. So I took this one camera and one lens out for the day, and I shot like crazy. I think with everything that I've gone through, and that's kind of why I prefaced the video with all of that, everything that I've been through, the family's been through, it was the first day where I really kind of felt like myself again and felt like I was actually seeing again. Everything that I've been shooting for the last 6 or 7 months has not been my usual approach or style, which is a good thing. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with sort of the shift in direction and even just the photos themselves. But it's been a different relationship than what I've normally had with photography and just documenting my everyday life, especially with my family. It just seemed like all day long, no matter what we were doing in different scenarios, different lighting conditions, different everything, I was just still seeing moments that I wanted to shoot all day long, which is a feeling I have not felt for a really long time. Mental health, personal situations, personal struggles, whatever you're going through, that can definitely affect how you're shooting, both positively and negatively. And I think while going through everything that we've gone through has made me see things a little bit different, and I've made photos in that time that I wouldn't have made otherwise, and I'm sort of thankful I was able to make some of those photos. This is the first time I have truly felt like myself in a really long time. It's different because it's not my M6 and HP5, so it doesn't look like all of my other photos, but the kind of things I was seeing and just how present I felt, that to me is what stands out the most and what really felt like me more than anything that day. So today, let's take a look at some photos from June 5th, 2021. Right out of the gate, first photo, current state of things, a dying, neglected plant in the front window with Strawberry there, making sure the house is safe. Always up there in the front window, always keeping an eye on things. She will growl at the mailman like a dog would. She takes her job serious, and Strawberry is too thick to do anything half-assed. Took a drive over to my good friend's house and basically just let the kids run around in the creek that runs along his property. It's a guy I grew up with from kindergarten and up, all the way through graduation, and it's, his grandpa's old property, so it was a very nostalgic kind of thing, going there when we were kids and now taking my own kids there to play in the creek. It was really rad. Normally, I'm the one who's always driving whenever we go somewhere as the four of us, but for whatever reason, Molly drove the entire day. And I shot a lot of photos in the car, which later you'll see some from the end of the day that I'm really happy with. But I shot this photo of the chip in the glass and the windshield, which we need to get repaired. But like everything else, some things have just been put on the back burner for a few months. Drove the entire day. And I shot a lot of photos in the car, which later you'll see some from the end of the day that I'm really happy with. But I shot this photo of the chip in the glass and the windshield, which we need to get repaired. But like everything else, some things have just been put on the back burner for a few months. I just like the way this looked though. Next. Right when we got out of the car over at my buddy's house, there were a handful of butterflies all over the gravel in the driveway there. And we were over there kind of, just letting the kids see them and stuff, trying to show the kids. And I really liked this photo, although I wish you could actually see the butterflies. You kind of have to zoom in to really notice them, but I love Molly's hand there with the shadow of Nora as she was standing over it, looking at the butterflies. And then she got a little closer, stepped in, and picked up the butterfly. And well, she wanted to see the butterfly fly, so she picked up the butterfly and just tossed it like it was a rock. And that was pretty much the end of the butterflies wanting anything to do with us. I experimented a lot with the crops on some of these photos. Some of them I went with a square crop because that's what I had in mind when I shot the photo, but I've pretty much had my SL2 set to the 4:3 aspect ratio for probably all year now. As I've been shooting with this for a personal project, I really like the 4:3 aspect ratio, and so I just have that turned on in the viewfinder. So it basically has black edges on the right and left side of the frame. And then if I import everything into Lightroom and I want to undo that, I still have the full 35mm full frame image there from the sensor, but the 4:3 aspect ratio is just what I like to shoot in. So if you notice, the crop of maybe all of them I think are 4:3, except for a few that I cropped to either 4:5 or 1:1 for a square. That's why. But we spent a lot of time just walking around in the creek, playing with the kids, and I just noticed all of the different textures and color and light that was around there. And shooting with this versus my M6 with HP5, I was actually seeing the color and trying to incorporate the color when I could, looking for contrasting colors like this warm, kind of orangish brown color from the water and the creek bed there with the reflection of the blue sky up above it. I'm not used to actually looking through this lens in particular anyway. I'm used to looking through my rangefinder, so actually looking through a 35mm focal length has been a bit different, although using the 24-70 lately, looking through that lens and seeing either the distortion or the lack of compression in some of the wider focal lengths. It's definitely been interesting compared to using just the 35 on my M6 for so many years. Here we have the two different crawdads that were found. The one on the bottom there, the tiny one, is what Molly found, and then above that is probably the biggest crawdad I've ever seen in person, and that is from Denver, my good friend that I grew up with. And that is par for the course. I mean, we were in kindergarten or first grade, and Denver would ask, if I wanted to come over and catch snakes out in the woods. And yeah, that's just always been Denver. He's always out catching random animals out in the woods. Elliot was kind of hanging out outside of the creek. He's a little bit timid around water. He's like me, especially when I was a kid. I wanted basically nothing to do with water, and he's pretty much like that, but we kind of got him warmed up to it a little bit. But before that, I wanted to grab a couple portraits of him out there, and this is the face that he gave me because he's 4 years old and he lives for it. But then I just started shooting a few photos after that, and I shot this photo basically trying to keep my camera level with his face, even though he was turning his head. And I really like just the light on him right here, but also the way everything is kind of off-centered or off the horizon line that it should be. I just thought this was a fun one. Once he got in the water though, I shot this photo of him as he was kind of walking out to, where the water was getting a little bit deeper than just, your ankles. And he was a little timid at first, you can tell by his posture here, but I love this photo from the light that's hitting him. You can kind of see his little farmer's tan that he's got. He's got these dark tan arms and then just a white pasty skin, but I love this photo. Now the next one, this looks like he is lashing out in anger at us, but he was splashing water and making sounds, like goofing off, having a blast as he was doing this. And I just shot 4 or 5 photos in that sequence. And I didn't realize it until after I was importing everything and I came back and I saw this one frame and I'm like, I don't even remember seeing that split second of that look on his face. It happened that quick and changed that quick, but he just looks like he is just full of anger in this one photo. But then you go to the next one and he's looking at me grinning right after he splashed Molly with water. And the one right after that, I really like this one. It feels a bit more different. It doesn't seem like he's, looking at me smiling or anything. He's got a little bit more of a straight face. And just his posture, he comes across as a little bit more kind of, chest puffed out, a little bit more confident. And him in the water like that, I was happy to see that. Molly showing Elliot this little salamander that she caught, and he was not impressed in the least bit. Neither was Nora. Sorry, Molly, you'll have to keep trying. Nora, on the other hand, compared to Elliot, she loves the water, and she has since she was a baby. That is her favorite place to be. So anywhere where there's a creek, she's always in there. And I basically just walked along this entire creek for a while and kind of stood up on the bankside and just let her do her own thing by herself and just kept an eye on her. And I shot some photos here and there of her just sort of completely by herself, not too close. I wanted to add some space around her to show how she really is all the time, kind of doing her own thing. And I just really loved the shadow here of her as she was stepping into the water and kind of moving rocks around with her feet. I just loved the shadow there with the hard light directly above her. And this kind of light is not my favorite kind of light to shoot in, but I specifically wanted to shoot a little bit different because I realized, how many times I would be in a situation like this and I would just think, well, the light isn't great. It's not the ideal kind of light. It would be better if, and I would just basically tell myself, this isn't worthy of stopping and shooting. But again, I was in this kind of mindset that I haven't been in a long time, where I just saw stuff everywhere in all different kinds of light and different scenarios. It just felt really, really good to be shooting all day. But we were all in the creek for several hours, and after that we took them home to get cleaned up so that way we could go see my friend Branson. You might have remembered, actually, I did a video with my SL2 and the 35mm Summicron shooting portraits of what is going to be his coffee shop. He's basically doing a pop-up kind of food truck service this summer to prep for the launch of the coffee shop this fall. And so he's been having some live music there. So we took the kids out there to see that. Our friends Alex and Carly were playing, as well as Branson himself. And we took the kids over there to basically let them run around, listen to some live music, and see some friends. Before we went over there, Molly was braiding Nora's hair, and this is a pretty familiar scene for me. Molly braiding her hair and me basically holding Nora's hand, comforting her because she gets really, really overwhelmed when we're braiding her hair, and it's not just the usual, oh, you're pulling my hair kind of thing. She really gets worked up sometimes when we're braiding her hair. So usually I'm there to kind of just console her while Molly is braiding it. I can braid her hair, but it is nowhere near as good as Molly's. So if she's there, I let her handle that. But it's just a familiar scene, something I see almost on a daily basis. So yeah, that's what made me want to shoot it. I also love the daylight coming in behind back there, reflecting off the floor. This first photo I'm including because this was kind of a reference photo. It was something that kind of caught my eye. Again, I'm not used to shooting photos of the kids in the car because I'm usually the one driving. And so I kept looking back and just noticing different things while they're in the car. And they've got their headphones on and they're watching their shows. in the car there, but it was interesting for me to be able to see different things that they do and different light that is on them as we're shooting, or as we're driving, I should say. And I happened to notice this. I shot this one photo and I love the look on Nora's face, but the light is what I was really after and that I came back to on the way home. Now, once we got to where the live music was playing, it was pretty loud out there, obviously, and for Nora, a lot of times the loud music can be a little bit overwhelming, so we got her some headphones out of the car, and she just wore those during the time, and then she just had a blast. It wasn't too much for her. It just made her a lot more comfortable. And while they were hanging out, there's a building right next to where all of this is going on. It's an empty building. I think it used to be a Goodwill, but it has these bright blue window frames and door frames. And as the kids were just kind of running around, hanging out, at first I took a couple photos of Nora just sitting on this little post out there. Almost looked like she was just a kid loitering out in front of a store. And I shot a few photos of her there and her, balancing on it, just doing her own thing. That is always Nora. And as they were kind of like running around and playing, I noticed that the blue headphones basically in front of the blue entrance to the building, I thought that might be kind of cool, so I shot a few photos with that in mind, and I'm not sure which of these I like the most. The one with exit and enter on the doors behind her, I feel like they're a little bit too close to the edge of the frame. I'm not sure if I like that one more or if I like the following photo with just the exits on there, but I really love this photo of her as she's walking away grinning with this scrunched up nose and her gums showing because she just lost her 2 front teeth. I love that one. And then on the way home, as we got back into town and we're going over the bridge, I happened to just glance over and I kind of saw what I felt was basically the tourist Chillicothe photo. As people are passing through town, people are always taking photos of the smokestack, like, hey, look, I'm in Chillicothe. That's like the big landmark here. And this was basically just my nod to the Chillicothe tourist. And finally, the last photo of the day is by far my favorite photo of the day. It's, in all honesty, probably one of my favorite photos I've made in a really long time. It is this photo of Elliot looking at the screen in front of him, whatever show he was watching, probably Blue's Clues or Sonic, if I had to guess. But I love the look on his face paired with the light that was reflecting off of the car in front of us. Basically, the sun was bouncing off the car in front of us and reflecting back into our car, and the light on him just looked incredible. I turned around and it just felt like I was watching a movie, and I could kind of imagine myself when I was a kid in the back of my parents' van watching movies or listening to my CD player on the way to my brother's games or going on family vacations, stuff like that. It just felt like I was watching an old home movie of myself, basically. And I just really loved the moment. I loved the light. This is by far one of my favorites I've made in a long time. So those are just a few photos I made last weekend with the family. Again, it just felt good to be able to see things again, to be completely present again. And using the SL2 with the 35, it's just great. I love this combination. I've sang this camera's praises many times. I just love this system a lot. It's really, really enjoyable to use, and using my M lenses, making it super compact. The only downside, it's not really the autofocus. The manual focus, I don't really have much of an issue with that, but I really wish I could focus just a little bit closer. Using the 24-70 and being able to focus up a little bit closer than you can with a rangefinder lens, I've gotten really, really used to that, and I really enjoy shooting up close, especially at the 35mm focal length. So with this lens, 0.7 meters, wish I could get maybe just a little bit closer, but I also can't afford the newest Summicron, so can't complain though. Absolutely love it. Thank you guys for everything, for watching this video, for sticking with me over the last 6 months or so. It's been a crazy year, but especially the last few months. It's nuts, but I'm open and honest about everything because why the hell not? So thank you guys truly for everything. If you have any questions or anything, let me know down below, but that's it for today. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.